Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
For newcomers and old-timers alike, the Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can we prevent illness, see the signs of disease before it's too late, and care for our birds through ill health? What light does behavioral science shed on their nature, needs, and hopes? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions?
Shake.
How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. How much freedom do you give them? What happens if you form a bond of trust with them? Watch and see what understanding their true nature can do for you. Come with us on a journey as we do more than examine a parrot's world. We live in it. Make some popcorn and bring in a few wood blocks. Let everyone have something to chew and a comfortable place to perch. Ccckatude is a presentation of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
I'd like to do a big shout out to those people who make this video cast possible. Ccckatude would not be possible without our patrons. And a great big welcome to it. Thank you to those of you who make one-time donations. Without these patrons giving us of their hard-earned cash, we couldn't continue doing this podcast. I'd like to urge you to please give us at least $1 per episode. We do 2 episodes a month. We'd like to do more, but in order to do that, we have to have the time. And right now I'm spending a lot of time trying to beat the bushes for the Chloe Sanctuary. It's not easy taking care of birds that are severely damaged, both emotionally and physically. So please, I urge you, become one of our patrons. And I'm sure that Peaches would thank all of our patrons in person if she got the chance. We try to answer questions from our viewers as we can. If you are a patron, be sure to email us at patron@chloesanctuary.org, and your questions will take precedence. We always put our patrons first because they put us first. Hi, and welcome to Ccckatude, Cockatoos with Attitude. Episode 67, Parrot Stress, Keeping Molehills from Turning into Mountains. Right, Lucy? We've done episodes before dealing with stress, but we were talking about major forms of stress. Now what we're going to be talking about is the little things that can build over time that may lead to your bird having issues such as feather picking. That's not going to be the cause of feather picking. The ultimate cause of feather picking is being hand raised and missing steps in their development that they would have gotten had they been living with their parents and their siblings and in a flock. So, but we can do little things that eventually spark it off. Probably the number one is a vacation, for example. People take off from vacation, they come back and find their bird missing a whole bunch of feathers. There are little things that we do and little things in the environment that can cause them stress. And over time, it can build to a crescendo. We're going to look at how to provide a relaxing environment for your bird. A relaxing and less stressful environment for your bird. Right, Lucy? Lucy says, I don't know. You want to sit? Where do you want to sit, Lucy? On the finger? Okay. That's fine. That's fine, little girl. You happy there? You okay? No loving parrot companion wants to see their bird stressing and unhappy. But it takes some effort, not Herculean, but it takes some effort to keep an eye on them and see whether or not they're stressed. And sometimes it's not even important to know if you're stressing them, but just assume that you need to do things to make their lives better, to keep the stress levels down. So even if your bird doesn't seem to be stressed, you're looking at, like Bob right now doesn't look stressed, he's playing with a toy, and he was playing with the toy until I mentioned it, right, Bob? Even though they may not seem stressed, they may be. Keeping an eye on their behavior can help you nip them in the bud, so to speak. So, what kind of things can cause them stress? Well, first you would look for anything unusual going on in the home. We'll take a big one first. What if you're remodeling the kitchen and there's people going to be coming in and out all the time to work on that kitchen remodel? Now, the bird's in the same place it's always been, in the living room, but they hear a bunch of commotion from the kitchen. They hear voices they're not used to, they hear machines going off. So that's a pretty big change. Now, it's going to be obvious there's going to be some stress. They may look fine, but they're going to have some stress over that. We'll deal with the methods that you can use to keep them from getting too stressed in such situations a little later on. Right now, we're just discussing the kind of things that can cause it. If you're having arguments, if you've got a teenager in the house and they're, well, Mom, you said I could do this, and you've got that kind of stuff going on all the time, the birds are going to pick up on it. Okay, so teenagers can cause birds a lot of stress with their demands and their ego running wild. So, or small children, if children are going up and banging on the cage, or they're playing hard in front of their cage, this can be a problem for your birds. So that's right, Peaches. You tell them, Peach. Tell them all about it. That's what Peaches has. I know. Peaches. Beautiful song, Peaches. That's a beautiful song. So, if you have family arguments, you have loud screaming going on between humans, then you're probably going to find your birds getting stressed by this. Birds have been known to start screaming back at the humans in those situations, or to start doing stereotypic behaviors like pacing back and forth in their cage. So if you have those kind of explosive things going on in your home, take them in a back room if you can. Take them out somewhere else if you can. It's not as easy to have arguments outside the house, but go into a different room, get away from the parrot, try to keep the volume down. That can help you with your arguments too. If you're kind of thinking about them and stop thinking about yourself so much, it can be helpful. Remember that your bird sees you as its flock, so if there's a problem in the flock, it's going to stress your bird. If you have someone in your family who's very sick and you're talking about having to make arrangements for them when they die because they're terminally ill, and this kind of sadness that can come in your voice and the stress that you're facing with a family member who's ill, that can affect them too. It'll affect them because they feel your pain. These creatures tend to be empathetic. I think I learned that best when we were playing with Snowball and he thought he bit me. I'm playing Frisbee, right? He thought he bit me. He hadn't actually, but he had put his beak on my hand when he was trying to grab the Frisbee. And it was pretty obvious from the way he was acting that he thought he had bit me. He turned and walked away and looked at me. And I said, no, it's okay. You didn't hurt me. And he just wouldn't buy it, okay? So obviously that little thing of thinking that he bit me and walking away, that's how I see it. There's no way I can prove that, of course. It's anecdotal, but it could be financial problems. It could be a lot of different things that could be you're facing. But whatever these little irritations in your life are can cross over to them. Now, maybe you put a new television in the living room, something different. You put a new speaker set up there. You rearranged the living room. You made little changes here and there. You dyed your hair a different color. All of a sudden, you're wearing some chain around your neck with a pendant on it. These little things may not seem like much to you, but they can be a problem for your bird. So, Pippa, no! What part of no don't you understand? I don't know what part of no you don't understand. I know, you haven't really learned it here yet, have you? But you can't climb the chair. No. Well, no, because from there you'll be leaping on the computer. We don't want that. It's all right, sweetie. It's all right. Just have to learn when I say no, it means no, okay? I know you're all right. You're all right. You're okay. You're okay. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. Like in this situation, I could make it really dramatic. She did something she's not supposed to do. She'd be climbing up on a chair. She can get to one of the cameras. So I took her away from the situation. I brought her over here. And then when she was over here, I started to praise her. Yeah, didn't I? I started to praise you, didn't I? Yeah. So we don't want her to stress out. She doesn't understand when I say no, like the other birds do. That doesn't mean they're going to do what I ask them to do. If I say no, they're going to make their own choice, and they realize that there's a consequence to their choices. That's the nature of living beings anyway. So there are a lot of different things that can cause them issues. Changing your schedule. You've been working at one job, now you're working another job. You used to get up, get them out of their cage. You'd leave at 7:30 to get to the job at 8 o'clock. Now you're getting up at 5 and you're leaving at 7, and that's a big change for them. They know the differences in time. They're familiar with the rising and setting of the sun. So if you start messing with their schedule, that's going to impact them.
Peaches is an amazing personality. Her daily maintenance requires dedication and mindfulness. She requires 2 forms of medicine, 7-course meals, and effort to entice her to eat. Extensive preening every day, special tools to trim nails, constant attention to her vocalizations, daily walks, and twice yearly checkups due to the possibility of impacted feather follicles and the nature of her spinal injuries. It seems a common misconception among the general public that parrots are like toys in a toy box. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are complex creatures. Recently, scientific studies have shown them to be at least as intelligent as chimpanzees. Every captive parrot needs special humans who will dedicate themselves to understanding them, those who know their species as it lives in the wild, special people that understand their social, mental, and physical needs. They need to be understood for what they are, and not as merely human companions, as circus performers to bring smiles. Peaches needs all this and more. She is our special girl. Will you help us care for Peaches? Please make a donation today at our website, chloesanctuary.org. That's spelled CHLOESANCTUARY.org. As a special thank you for your donation, we will joyfully send you a postcard with Peach's happy face.
Now, in a situation like that, the thing you might do, I'm just give an example of the kind of things we're going to go through, where you know you've been leaving at 8 o'clock to go to work, now you're going to be leaving at 7 o'clock. There's an hour difference there. This can also be just time change, right? We've gone from daylight savings time to standard time. So what you want to do is kind of work them into it. So you're still going to the one job for 2 weeks. Now you're leaving at 10 minutes to 8, you know? You're leaving at 20 minutes to 8. You're going through the same routine, but you're leaving a little bit earlier every day. And then you can stop somewhere and have a cup of coffee, you know, and think about your day or whatever. But give them a little time to adjust, okay? Try to always think about them as what they are, which is like flying monkeys, right? Except that they're not mammals. And they don't really have the negative side that most mammals have, especially mammals that are predators. So it can be as simple as, I bring this up many times, but the time that Chloe freaked out because, come here, Bob, you're not going to go mess with her. You just got a thing lately of messing with Peach. You leave the Peach alone, okay? Okay, Big Bob? Okay? All right. Hey, Big Bob. Hello, Big Bob. Yeah, that's my boy. So give them time to adjust. So with Chloe, it was just a can of Rumford baking powder, and who would even think that was the case? I just went through everything I had brought out until I finally found one item I could put down below the counter and she'd stop screaming. Now, maybe she wouldn't have screamed. Maybe that item could have frightened her if she was in her cage, and she might have just become disturbed by it. And then you can tell she's disturbed. What do? You don't know what caused it. It might have been going on for a week or two, and you just didn't notice it. But you start to notice that instead of climbing around the cage and playing with toys, your bird's sitting in the back of the cage, okay? And it's not moving around as much. So thus begins trying to figure out what the problem is, okay? And if you can run back through the changes you've made, you might be able to reverse it. If not, you're going to have to start adding things into the situation to improve it. Now, another thing, if you've got problems between people that are living with the bird, part of the bird's flock, it may change the way you behave with the bird. So you may not take the bird out of the cage as much, or you may just hurry up with the feeding in the morning because you're dealing with issues. You've been named as the person who's the trustee in charge of taking care of your grandmother's estate, and there's all that pressure on you. So you're working on all this stuff, and you're forgetting that you used to take the bird out for breakfast, and you keep your bird by the kitchen table as you fed it some treats and that kind of thing. And now instead you're sitting at the kitchen table looking at all this paperwork you got to do. So this is a point where I know how it is to be under stress, but you have to think about their stress too. Because if your bird starts to fall apart, that's just going to be one more thing that you're going to have to deal with. And with them, it's like dealing with aliens. We don't understand their psychology well enough to deal with these problems without a lot of complicated thoughts. So your best bet is to nip them in the bud, right? So they know your body language. If you're walking by their cage, normally you walk by their cage and you say, "Hi, how you doing, Bob?" And you stop doing that and you're kind of pacing around. The motions you're making plus the way you're talking and everything has changed. They pick up on all that. They can tell if you've got tension in your face. They can read your blood supply so that if you're really stressed out, it can show on your skin. You know, people will redden up. Their face reddens if they're under a lot of stress frequently, and the bird can see that. Can also tell if your breathing is different. So and obviously it's good if you can do some things to change that in your, to deal with your own stress. It'll help them. But so what kind of effects do we get from stress? Yeah. A stressed bird may have a shortened attention span. It may see little things happening in the environment as big things. The stress will make it overcompensate for the problems that are going on in the environment. The stress can cause them to react to things differently. You may become a little bit more nippy, may occasionally bite or start screaming. Screaming being squawking on a regular schedule, such as that kind of thing. Only I'm not going to do it at 125 decibels because I don't have a pharynx, or a syrinx. I don't have the power to do that. You could do it if you wanted to, though, couldn't you, Pippa? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Pippa will attest to the fact that we tried to get Cecil out, but he was in a mood. Once in a while, he just won't come out. He'll just look at you. He thinks, my guess, and I don't know, but my guess is he thinks I'm going to do his nails. He should know better, but maybe he just wants to play in his cage. He's got some new toys in there. He gets new toys fairly frequently, but he's got some new cool ones that a volunteer made, and so he's been playing with those, and maybe he just wanted to stay and play. Who knows, right, Pippa? You don't know, do you? No, Pippa doesn't know. Or Lucy, or Babaloo. Do you know Babaloo? So these are situations too where there have been changes in your environment, and your bird becomes stressed, and you may not even notice it. But let's say you have a relative come over, and all of a sudden the bird nips your relative or bites your relative, or runs away from them when they try to come up. Where normally that's not the way they've been dealing with, And Matilda has never had a problem with the bird. Now she goes over to pick him up, and he lunges at her. Okay, a lot of times people will try to blame that on the bird. They'll say that something's wrong with the bird when actually it's the environment they're in that's stressing them out, and it's causing them to act like that. We humans are used to a high stress level, those of us living in a Western civilization. If we were living in the Aturi forest as a pygmy, the stress level would be a lot less. Because in those so-called primitive societies, you don't have to worry about paying the bills. You're just dealing with the environment. Now, that doesn't mean those people aren't hardy and strong. They are. You have to be strong to survive in the forest, but they don't have some of these stressors that we have, okay? If food gets low, they just migrate somewhere else where there's more food. We don't do that. We're stuck in jobs. We have family problems. We have little kids we're trying to train, and older ones that are trying to train us, and all that falls on your bird. Now, it can be that you just decide you're going to have a party there, and you're going to invite a bunch of people over, and they're going to have loud music and all that kind of thing, and that can be a problem for the bird. Now, it may look okay the night that it happens. It may sit in its cage and seem to be taking it all in, but if this is something unusual, you need to make sure that bird's stress level is relieved, and we'll talk about how to do that in a little bit. Now, if your bird's in good health, you're feeding it well, it's getting exercise. Best if you're putting an aviator harness on it and flying it around. It'll get good exercise that way. These guys don't really use much muscle at all unless they're flying. So flying is their major method. Think of it as the gym. When a bird flies, it's gone to the gym. If your bird hasn't been flying, your bird has not been exercising. So they can fly around the house, that's fine. They can fly around on a harness outside. Always watching for hawks. But if they get exercise and they've got a good diet, they're going to handle stress a lot better. They can suffer physical problems from it. High blood pressure, it can upset their digestive tract, it can cause hypertension, arterial sclerosis, anorexia. They can stop eating and lose weight. As with humans, they will take their stress and they will turn it into problems with their own bodies. So one thing you can do is make sure that when you've got stressors in the environment, and even if you don't, you should do some of this, give them some personal time. Yeah. Give them personal time. Spend time with them. Show them attention. Play with them. Pip, 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 pip. Pip, 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 pip. Pip, pip, pip. One of the games we play, which I have not been able to get on camera yet, is where I say pip, 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 and she puts her head back and forth and says it back to me. Yes, she says pip, 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 pip. Pip, pip, pip. You aren't going to do that, though, are you? No? What you doing up there, Bob? So finding some time for your bird, where your bird can actually play with you, training your bird. Some people have expressed to me the feeling that they don't want to train a bird because they don't want a robot. That's not the point of training. The point of training is to help you in a number of things. I train veterinary behaviors so that when they get to the vet can open their wings and look at their wings with no problem, can do a full exam, touching every part of the bird. Bob, you're not going to get the controller. No, Babaloo, you're not coming down over here. I know what you want, and I don't want you to do it, okay? So one thing you can do is greet your bird when you come home. You know, say hi to your bird when you get home. Talk to them. Tell them about your day. They won't understand your words, but they'll understand that you're relating something to them and that you care about them. You know, when you're doing stuff, you're playing games, you're in the living room playing a card game, have them, sit in one of the spots. They can't play with the cards, they could eat them, but they'll be there and they'll be part of what's going on. When you're cooking, or you're wandering around the house, doing odd chores or whatever, involve them. Right, little girl? Lucy says, that's right, get me involved. As in our last video, you can take your bird on a ride. Now here's something too, this last video. One viewer commented that they took their bird a rather long distance and unfortunately found out it was motion sick after they'd been on the road for a couple of hours. So this is something you need to prepare for. If you're taking a short ride, and it's always best if you're getting your bird ready to go on trips, to take short trips first and see how they react. And you make it gradually longer and longer, that's helping your bird because it's with you, and at the same time you're going to find out if it gets motion sick. If it does, the research I recently looked up, the research I looked at showed that Benadryl is what's usually given for motion sickness with birds. The manual of Parrot behavior does show the exact dosage to use, so if you ever need to do that, refer to that. And if you start training your bird, you're going to find out that you develop a stronger relationship. One of the things I've noticed is that if you've got a bird that loves sunflower seeds, such as Roman, okay, he loves sunflower seeds, you can put the sunflower seeds down below, right where he can get to them if he climbs down. And when you start to train them, they won't go for that. They're going to want the one that you have in your hand. when they're being trained because they're social animals. So you develop a relationship, a student-teacher relationship. You'll find that sometimes you're the teacher and sometimes you're the student, but this is a good way to keep the stress level down with your bird. Plus, you're getting an interaction with your bird every day or every other day, with the training. And you can see if you start to train your bird and your bird is nervous, okay? It's not concentrating, it's pacing back and forth, it's looking around other places to go. Now, if you haven't changed the area you're training in, and you see those kind of behaviors, that can be an indicator of stress. So. It is ignorance of Bob's nature that turned Babaloo into a living gargoyle. Bob's would-be parents made a hasty choice and found themselves in living hell, torn between guilt and frustration. I have seen the joy in Babaloo's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babaloo love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation. My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually, Babaloo will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day. His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babaloo a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate. So training serves that purpose as well. And, 2 hours is probably optimum, a minimum of 2 hours, but you can get away with 1 hour of one-on-one time, but you need to have that time with your bird. Now, let's talk about their cage. It should be in a low stress location. It should be optimally, if you have one bird, it's best to have it in a corner. That cage in the corner, there's no predator that can get on the one side that's against the wall. There's no predator that can get on them on the other side that's against the wall. So in that situation, they have less to fear. Imagine if you were working and you had 4 bosses, and you had a boss in front of you, a boss behind you, a boss on the side, and a boss on the other side. So now you're surrounded by bosses. No matter which way you go, you could have a problem. It's that way with them. So if they can be against a wall that's in a corner, that's best. At least one wall is best. Avoiding windows, I have some cages here. I don't have a choice. We only have so much space where there are actual windows. That created a problem with Lorelei. I would have Lorelei in this room, except she's in one of those feisty moods where she doesn't listen to what I say. She tried to take off my glasses earlier. She was acting like she was going to rip my ear off. She didn't hurt me. She didn't hurt me, but she was acting like she was going to do that. You ask her to do something like come over, she won't. The second you turn, she flies up on your shoulder. She's playing games today, so I knew I wouldn't be able to talk with her in the room because she'd be acting crazy. Now, I'm sure that with the acting crazy, you guys would enjoy that, but actually, this one was acting kind of crazy and she's being really calm now. And you're being calm. Hey, that's not nice. We don't bite. I know you didn't, but you acted like you were going to. Peach? You're just sitting over there. Come here, Peach. Come on, Peach. Come on, Peach. Hi, Peaches. You want to sit up here? You sit right there, Peach. There you go. So that's important. And make sure you have enough toys in the cage. You should keep a cage where, let's say if you found a nice corner, but the problem is there's a door right there and people are constantly going in, and you're going to keep startling the bird. That could be stressful. Playing music is another way that you can keep the stress down. With Bob, if he had his way, he'd be listening to Marilyn Manson and, wouldn't you, Bob? And Elvis Presley. His idea of stress reliever is hard rock, but he doesn't get that. He's basically getting Bob Marley and Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson because Roman loves Willie Nelson, and Bob Marley because it's got enough of beat that Bob likes it. It's close to what he likes, but it's still calming. There's something calming about that Jamaican kind of beat that Marley came up with that's good for the birds. Classical music is good too. I mean, something peaceful. You can also use sound effects like rainforest or recorded sounds of rainforests, birds, that kind of thing. That gets them interested. They're looking around. Unless, of course, you got hawks in the background. That wouldn't be good. But they do have CDs that are just the sounds of forests, and they like it. I do that in this room sometimes. I can do that through my Apple TV. And they just stop and listen to the bird sounds and the sounds of the forest. So sometimes if they're getting a little wild, it'll help to calm them down back here. Where if I put music on and they're not in the cages, there's a lot of bouncing around and dancing. Cecil likes to dance. Peaches will do a little bit of it. These two are not dancers. You're not a dancer and you're not a dancer. Bob's a good dancer, aren't you, Bob? Bob, are you a good dancer? Are you a good dancer, Bob? Are you? Now your parrot's cage, it should feel like it's its home. It's so their bird's cage, your bird's cage is its castle. So you don't want to be putting things in it doesn't like. Now with cockatoos, you can usually put things in their cage and they don't have a problem with it. If you got an Amazon, you're going to have to work it, whatever toy you're going to put in there, work its way across the room and slowly get it in the cage. Old world parrots, Amazons especially, don't take to change in their cage very well. Cockatoos has less of that. Usually they'll be okay. You can tell right away when you're going to put something in if it's disturbing them. They'll walk away from it. You can tell right away when you do that to an old world parrot. Not in a good way either, because they'll let you know, get that thing out of here. These guys, it's a little more subtle. You may want to even put, I've mentioned boxes before, you can put a little box in there, they can go hide in the box, that's good, unless of course they start showing too much mating behavior, then you may have to take it out. Maybe even cover one little section of the cage so they have a place they can hide if they want to. Make it their castle. And if you do cover one section of their cage, one little bit so they can hide back there, put in some toys and things, rope toys or whatever. Put some little toys back for there. Put toys back there so that they can play out of the way, out of everybody else's view if they want to get out of the way. This one likes to hide. She gets behind the box that it's in her cage, and she'll hide back there, won't you? And as I mentioned before, exercise. Get them some flight training. Get them out there flying around on an aviator harness, or get them flying around the living room. No, you're not going over there. No, you're not going to do that. Come here. Come here. I know where you're heading. You're not going to the chair. You're not going to the chair. Well, I don't think you're going to the chair. It wouldn't be good if you did to go chew on the camera. No, it wouldn't. Get them exercise, and exercise is flight. You can have them doing other things, running around on the floor, chasing after balls, or chasing after frisbees, as with Snowball. When Snowball plays frisbee, he flies. So he gets a lot of exercise. He flies to get the frisbee over here. He flies up to catch it up there. I mean, he's just all over the place. It's excellent exercise for him. Get him some exercise. If you have an outdoor flight cage or an indoor flight cage, make sure they use it. You know how I feel about wing trimming? I think makes about as much sense as cutting the Achilles tendon on your dog so it can't run away from you. It's better to recall them, but know what you're doing. Make sure you do it in such a way that you don't have any chance of losing them, okay? Once they're recall trained, you can get them back, but I think there's still a group on Yahoo that's called Free Flight in the Yahoo groups, and I think you can talk to them about what it takes to train your bird to recall. We'll probably do a video on that at some point, won't we, girl? So if you are going to fly them, you want to fly them maybe 20 minutes a day. That's a good amount of exercise for them. I know Lorelei gets it. And these other ones, they get, when they have their wings in, she's almost ready to fly. She doesn't do a terribly good job yet, but she's going to get there. Aren't you? She's not used to using these feathers. She does have all of her primary flight feathers in now. Right, Pippa? Now, it's not, by no means is this as good as flight. Not even close, but if your bird is like Salamander, he can't fly. He has a damaged pelvis. He has a twisted pelvis. And Peaches can't fly. So what I do is I get her kind of chasing after me or something on the floor. A little soft ball or a little toy. Toss something even like this. And she'll go get it. And just get her walking around. And so she gets some kind of exercise. She can flap her wings. So she'll get on the side of a cage and flap her wings. Can do that, and flapping is good for them. I mean, there is some exercise in flapping. Not as good as obviously being in the air, but now if you happen to have predators in your house, okay, you got a dog or a cat. I mean, humans are predators, but if you've got a dog or a cat in the house, you want to keep those as far away from your bird as possible. Make sure there's no shelf they can get to, like a cat can sit and look at your bird from up above. There's as few places in your home as possible for these predators to stake out your bird, because it will stress them out. I just want you to kind of imagine this. You're in a room and there's a cage on one side of it and there's a lion there. Are you going to be comfortable? Are you sure those bars are going to keep you from that lion? That lion can't reach all the way through and get you? That's how they think. You think your cat is cute. You think your dog is cute. They don't think they're cute. They're predators. They can tell. How can you tell a predator from a prey animal? Usually by their eyes. You see the way my eyes face forward? They're not on the side of my head. I'm a predator. These guys are not. They have the eyes on the side of their head, although they can look at things stereoscopically. They can rotate their eyes forward and look at things like we do. They see a lot better than we do, but I mean miles better than we do. But those predators you have in your house, you have to make sure they have the least amount of effect on these prey animals, okay? Another important thing is don't put two birds in one cage. People think that's cute, but it isn't. Let me say that pick a politician you don't like, okay? Somebody you know from seeing on the television you absolutely hate. And imagine if someone just grabbed that person and stuck them in your home and you had to have them there with you and you couldn't get away from them. That could be more than stressful, okay? That could put you in a murderous mood. So that does happen with some birds. They will attack each other if they're thrust into a situation and they can't get separated. So don't put them in that situation. Now, if you know you have two birds, you can see they're stressing each other out, then separate them in two different rooms, okay? Don't let that stress continue. Separate them, okay? And you should work on a yoga schedule. In other words, be flexible. You want to maintain a consistent routine, but be flexible enough to see when your bird needs something special. If, for example, Roman, he has this tendency to go psychotic, and it's especially the case if you have to towel him. And I think it would be better if I had some of that magic gas they use at the veterinary offices, so I could just knock him out for just a minute or two when I needed to give him medicine or something, because I can't towel him without totally freaking him out. The last time I toweled him, it's taken almost, 6 months to get him back? So I'm not going to use the towel anymore. But if I need to get him in a cage and he doesn't want to come, what are you going to do, right? You've got a consistent routine. You're feeding your bird on a regular schedule. They know what to expect. But there are times when your bird needs something else, okay? You've been spending 10 minutes a day with them in the morning, feeding them and talking to them before you go to work. If you notice that they seem to be a little aggressive, or they're squawking a lot more lately, and it's not the good kind, it's when you leave the room they start squawking, spend an extra 10 minutes with them. Be flexible, okay? Put yourself on a yoga schedule. Be flexible. If they need less time with you for some reason, it's the middle of mating season, and they're spending a lot of time digging in a box, make sure they get out, get their exercise, but be flexible. If they're pushing to get back in their cage, let them do it. Okay, just be flexible. But keep making that contact with them and get as much one-on-one as you can every day. Sometimes you're going to have to give them more than 2 hours. Sometimes you may be in a situation where you need to give them less while they're working through something. But try to stick to a schedule, but still, don't forget, be flexible. Now, part of this flexible thing is if you're used to feeding your bird at 7:30 every morning, it would be better actually if you did it at 7:20 one day and 7:40 the next and 7:30 the day after. So you're shooting for right around 7:30, but flex it a little bit, because if you get them on too set of a schedule, if it's too rigid, that may trigger some stress if you have to make a change. So part of the be flexible is, yes, you have a schedule, but a little flexibility. If you normally come home every day at exactly 5 o'clock, that might be a problem. One day if you get off, let's say if you get off at 4:30, one day show up at 5, next day show up at 5:30, 5:15, little flexibility there. You come home, you talk to them. Usually you give them their food like a half hour after you come home. Yeah, I know. It's a pippa. It's a pippa. Pip, 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 pippa. Pip, 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 pippa. What a girl. What a girl. Now, obviously, when I do these videos, this isn't on their schedule. They're in the room with different birds than they would normally be. I usually separate males and females, and so in here we have some females, some males. We would have had more. I was going to bring in Cecil. I wasn't going to bring in Snowball, though, because lately Snowball's been kind of rough on Salamander. And he hasn't hurt him or anything, but he keeps trying to go get Salamander, like he's going to chase him out of the room. So I wasn't going to bring him in for this because I didn't want to take that chance. You be nice. You be nice. You know the word nice. You be nice. You be nice. Okay? It's all right, Pippa. I won't let him get you. I won't let him get you. I won't. You're not going to get her. You're not, Babaloo. So if you invite different people over and have a dinner or whatever every couple of weeks, every month or so, you're generally feeding your bird at 6 o'clock at night. One night make it 7, occasionally. One night make it 5. Move it around a little bit. If you usually feed them in the kitchen, one day you may want to feed them in the living room. Just move it around enough where they get the idea that occasionally there are changes. And of course, encourage them when you're doing that. Be extra special nice to them when you're in that situation, okay? If you have people over at night, this is another reason to have a night cage. If you have visitors and they're going to be trying to sleep, having them in a different room in a night cage makes a lot of sense. Not only do they protect them as a smaller cage if they have a night fright, they have their own sleeping area. They know they're supposed to be sleeping. It's dark in there. They don't see when it's dark. They don't have the ability to see anything in the dark, really. So you got them in a dark room, in their night cage. They're used to sleeping there. If there's a little noise in the living room, what I do, since we don't generally get visitors here, is I put music on. So they're back sleeping, but they can hear music in the front room. So they know that it's sleeping time. They sleep with no problem. They do hear some music once in a while. Every other night they hear some music. And that desensitizes them to those things. So they're not going to have trouble sleeping if they hear a little noise. It's just like with a baby. If you have a baby and you give it a perfectly quiet room, it only takes a little bit of noise to wake them up. But if these guys experience some noise, talking, music, whatever, while they're sleeping, they learn to sleep with the noise. And sleeping cages should be in an area where nobody's going to go through that room. It's ultimately what you're shooting for. If occasionally somebody has to walk through it, yeah, I know. Very good, Pippa. Very good. That's a good Pippa girl. That's a good Pippa girl. So if you have to put them in a place where people can occasionally go through there, just teach the people to be a little quieter. Not to turn the lights on, okay? Know what your bird needs. It's like Roman right now, as I've been working with him and his fear of me that he developed when I had to tell him. In the morning, he gets to watch Willie Nelson's Honeysuckle Rose. I don't have an iPad or anything like that, so he watches it on an old 5S. He seems okay with that. He watches it on there, and then he gets some sunflower seeds. It's like his popcorn. He gets a little, like 4 or 5 of them, and I come back with another 4 or 5. If you give it to him all at once, then he demands a second load of 10 or whatever. So I just give him like 4 or 5 and then come back a little later and give him another 4. At night I do the same thing. He's come to expect this treatment and it endears him to me, okay? It's getting him over the stress he had of being toweled. So if, let's say, you just started going to college and you're taking some courses and now you're not giving quite as much time to your bird, some birds will actually like that. They'll want the extra free time. Other birds will get needy. And you have to, hey, get away from the door. Bob, Babaloo. Hey, you're ignoring me. Bob, get over here. Stop that. I know you're going to go after the door again if I don't get you over here. Come here. Babaloo. So, depending on your bird, whether it likes more attention or less, then you'll have to find a way to fulfill that need, even though you're busy doing other things. That can be true of bringing a baby into the home, too. Now, there's times when you know something stressful is coming up. Your bird doesn't like a bunch of people in the house, and you're about to have a bunch of people over. Well, you can check with your vet to see if they have Valium or a Flexor or some other medicine you can give your birds. You have some medicine to calm them down if necessary. So you're going to do that addition to your home. You're going to add another room to your home. Be prepared. Go to the vet. Get some drugs, okay? I know a lot of people don't want to do that, but if they're going to be stressed out and you're not sure how stressed out they're going to be, it's nice to have something around to calm them. Be sure to test it before the event, though. If you get something and it doesn't calm them, sometimes these psychotherapeutic drugs will work differently on one bird or another, right? So when you know something's going to be a stressor in the environment and it's a bigger one like that, go to the vet and get something to keep them calm If you're going to make a long trip with the bird, get some Benadryl, get some Valium or something like that, so that if they do get stressed, you can stop and give them something to relax them and protect them from motion sickness or stress on the trip. You don't want to find that out when you're halfway across the country and you don't even know where an avian vet is. Don't be a drama queen in front of your bird. Don't argue in front of your bird. Don't yell and scream. Don't have a fit. If your vacuum cleaner breaks down, don't scream and yell and kick your vacuum cleaner. Don't be like John Cleese in Faulty Towers, where he's out there, he's going to thrash his car within an inch of its life. You don't want to do that in front of your bird. You want to be calm. Now, a lot of people have told me, oh, you're so patient. They taught me patience. I didn't have much patience before I met these guys. Did I, Bob? See, Bob's not quite himself today. He's been having a little problem with his prolapse. So, simplify your life. Be mindful. Pay attention. Look for those stresses in your life that can also cause a stress for them. And sleeping cages should be in an area where nobody's going to go through that room. Lots of ways you can do that. But simplify your life as much as you can. If you usually pay your bills twice a month, if you can get it down to paying them once a month, and you can find some easier way to get it done, whether it's paying it online through your bank or whatever. If you tend to be tense, try to get some exercise to help you. Go running, do a walk, take a walk with your bird. Get them in their aviator harness and take a walk with them. If that'll help relax you. You need to take your own stress and reduce it if you want to help reduce their stress, because they pick it up from us, don't they? Don't they, Bob? Don't they, Bob? Babaloo? Good boy? Bob, good boy? Yeah, you're just ignoring me today. Yeah, I know, you don't feel so well, do you, boy? Do you, boy? Yeah, doesn't feel so well. Well, Lucy, you want to say goodbye to the people? You want to say goodbye to the people? Huh? Lucy, say goodbye to the people. Goodbye, folks. We'll see you next time. We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at Ccckatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @ChloeSanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.